Hey guys, what's up? It's Darknick here and welcome back to another Mythic Plus guide for packs, skips, mobs, pathing, all that kind of stuff. Today we're in Dagor and I'm showing you a run on my Paladin, which of course is going to be a complete shit show, but it's a different perspective at least. So first thing we're going to do in Dagor is we're going to CC the infested mobs on the beach, and then we're going to go and pull the packs surrounding it. Now this was bolstering week, and we're on alts with a couple of pugs. So what we decided to do was just pull 2 packs and a couple of stray mobs, and that was going to be our starting point. If it wasn't bolstering and you're in a group and you have either a tank with a slow or a frost mage or some ability to slow, what you would then be doing is pulling the entire beach outside of your infested mobs, which are CC'd. You would then run around slowing and killing all the mobs, and then you would pull all your infested together. Now with these mobs, the biggest thing you got to watch out for are the crabs will squeeze you, which will stun you in place. You can use freedom to get out of that. Otherwise, you can Icebound Fortitude if you get into a real shit position with it. And the crocs are going to apply massive chomp to you, which will also, every stack you get reduces your maximum amount of HP. So the more stacks you get, the less health you have. You get squeezed, you can get dead pretty easy. So just make sure you're monitoring that. But as I said, outside of bolstering and explosive weeks, you're generally not going to have too many issues if you've got a slow in just pulling all these mobs outside your CC'd infested and just slowly kiting them around, just ensuring that you've got threat on them. So we're going to clear the whole beach here. We're going to kill our infested mobs. Just fast forwarding through my video because we actually end up bolstering quite a few mobs here. Again, play that to your strength as well. If you've got really uneven AoE DPS or something along those lines, don't have to pull the whole beach. Split it up into 2 or 3 pulls or something like that. The main objective of pulling the entire beach is that it allows us to skip the cannon sections once we get up to the top near the 3rd and 4th boss. And the reason the cannon mobs are such a pain in the ass is that they're designed to be killed by cannons. They have really large health pools because they're designed to be killed by the cannons. And the cannons become quite tricky as they do friendly fire. Positioning can be difficult. The cannons don't kill Gahoonies as well. So the cannon mobs can be quite the pain in the ass, which is the advantage of clearing the beach out because it enables you to skip them. So we've cleared all of the beach except for the turtles, which are up to the far right when we start, and we're at 21.3%, which is absolutely fine. Then we're on to the first boss, the Sand Queen. Now, Sand Queen is really, there isn't a hell of a lot to this one. You'll be using Hero on this, obviously, unless you've done a big pull on a fort week on the beach and you're using Hero to clear that. Otherwise, if it's Tyrannical, I'd always recommend using it on the boss. The buzzing drones need to be stunned or cleaved down quickly. It really does help if your group stacks on the tank. When the buzzing drones spawn, then you can stun them and then you can move out. Make sure if you get upheaval that you're moving out of your group. Dodge the sand traps. That's really about it. The only weeks you're going to have real issues on the Sand Queen is going to be necrotic. The huge advantage to have cleared out the beach is that you have a hell of a lot more room to run to drop your necrotic stack. So again, another huge advantage to clearing out the beach. So that's pretty much it for the Sand Queen guy. And there's really not a lot to sort of fill you in on this boss. It is pretty straightforward. Don't stand near someone with upheaval. Don't stand in sand traps as they stun you. Kill the drones. If you've got necrotic, your group really needs to be on this with stuns and nuking the ads down ASAP, but do remember that you've got all that beach room to run. Once the boss is dead, there's going to be these parasites that come out of the sewer tunnel. Pretty simple, kill them and then you're going to run up into the sewer tunnel. Now, if you have a rogue or someone with inscription, you can skip this next part. We had no rogue and no one with inscription in our group, so we have to go the long way, but otherwise you can just run straight ahead, open that gate and go up into the sewers. If you don't, you have to run down the sewer pipe. So you're going to get these parasites, kill them. There's going to be 3 packs of parasites. There's going to be some gators, and then we're going to go up into this next bit where there's an infested gator, and there's a bunch of other gators. Now, CC the infested gator and kill the rest. We CC'd it, and then I threw judgment at it like an absolute fucking pog champ and broke it out. So then we've got to focus the infested mob down and then kill the other ones. If you skip this part anyway, you are still going to have to kill the gators in this room we are in now because you need the percent-wise. You can make it up through other mobs in the jail as well, but it's generally easy once you come out of that first gate to just round all these up and kill them. So once they're dead, we're moving towards the thug at the door. And what are we at? 33% at the moment. So this thug at the door is infested. Remember, infested's going to change each week. The pathing, the good thing when Season 2 comes in with reaping, the pathing for these dungeons is still going to be the same. I don't think anything's going to drastically change there. So everything I show you in these videos is still going to be relevant come Season 2. So we're just pulling up this Arsonist and the Striker. The Strikers throw rocks, they really don't do a hell of a lot, and the Arsonists aren't really much to worry about on themselves. They'll actually throw torches and things like that. We're going to run up here and we're going to pull the 2 Strikers in the back, and we're just going to pull them up into this corner. Now, if you have a rogue, these cages in this area, there will be mobs in there in the cages, neutral mobs that will actually give you buffs. So we end up getting, no, we don't get any of the buffs because we don't have anybody to open them. But if you have a rogue, you can open these cages and you can get buffs. There's an int buff, a stand buff. The fort buff actually stacks with fort if you already have it. There's a battle shout buff. I think there's 5 or 6, but anyway, there's buffs in the cages. If you have a rogue, get them to go across this bridge here that we're fighting this pack on and kill them. Make sure you get these as well. We're going to end up obviously having to go around. If you have a rogue, again, open those cages. You can skip straight through the cage, which is just to the right of us here when I'm looking. If you run up to that wall where we killed the 2 mobs in the corner before, you can actually skip this entire section. If you don't have that ability to do so, or you're coming over here to get the buffs, again, percent-wise, it's not a huge issue to come around here. So we're killing all these, and these are the cages that you'd be opening the mobs to get the buffs from. And we're running around here to the right of me there. That's the cage that you can actually open and go straight through on as the rogue. We're coming up here, and this is where the trash starts to get a little bit tricky in this dungeon. So these sea speakers here, they're the big ones. They'll do their sea blast, salt blast, which isn't a big issue. The big one with them is watery dome, and you want to be interrupting them, you want to be stunning them, and if any watery domes actually go off, you want to be purging them off if you have the ability to ASAP, as these can make these mobs take a hell of a lot longer to kill. Obviously, Toldagor is a fairly unfriendly Sanguine week as well, so just watch your positioning if you're in here with Sanguine. Use line of sight in this dungeon. The good thing about Toldagor is it's got so many line of sight spots. If you need to drag mobs out of Sanguine or back to avoid them dropping Sanguine where you don't need it, make sure you're making use of line of sight. We're coming up here, we're killing all the scallywags. We're on to the next pack in here, which again has 2 sea speakers, and they are, again, same shit. Don't waste interrupts if you've only got limited amount on their salt blast. Make sure you're using it on their watery domes, or you're purging them off, or you're stunning them before the cast goes off. If it's Sanguine week and you have a rogue in your group, open up all the cages on the way here and kill all the mobs in the cages. Main thing is when you do the boss and it opens the cages, if you haven't, those mobs will drop Sanguine on the floor and you can have a hell of a large spaghetti kind of time in here. So just be aware of that. Coming up around the corner here, the Arsonists again. The Arsonists, they don't really do a hell of a lot. They do this torch strike, but you shouldn't have too many issues on them whatsoever. Again, if they're Sanguine, make sure you're peeling them back around the corner and not leaving them here. And then we have another pack which has got the 2, what are they called? Sea speakers in it again. And it also has the Warden. So just watch out with the Warden. Don't stand in the bad swirly strike, as that does a shit ton of damage, especially on fort weeks. And again, make sure you're getting your watery domes. So once they're all dead, we're on to Jess. Now, Jess, the big thing with Jess is to ensure that you, in the phase 1, is that you are line of sighting the flashing daggers. Demon Hunters can blade dance the flashing daggers, and rogues can also evasion it if you don't want to run out. For the rest of you, you will need to line of sight. So as a tank, drag it to a corner where it's quite easy to be able to maneuver around the corner. Soon as flashing dagger goes off, make sure you're running. Jess will also cast a Howling Fear. You want to make sure that you're interrupting that. And that's pretty much it in this phase 1 rinse repeat. Then Jess is going to throw a smoke bomb and she's going to run and open up all these cages. Now again, if you had a rogue, open up all these on the way so you can kill them on the way to Jess, so you don't have to worry about dropping Sanguine in really shit places, mainly under the boss. On necrotic weeks, I don't know if these mobs apply necrotic stacks to you as well. They do not bolster though. I can tell you they don't bolster the boss at least. When you get to Jess on this second phase, make sure you do not interrupt Motivating Cry. Generally, you would want a hero here. Our pug heroed on phase 1. We always hero once we get to here and just burn through this without interrupting the Motivating Cry. If you do interrupt the motivating cry, it's not the end of the world. It just means that you go back to handling the mechanics from before, Flashing Dagger and the Howling Fear. So just watch for that. Once Jess is dead, we're going to run through this next section and we're on to this, pulling this Ashvane Jailer. And we're just going to pull it up. So there's going to be an Ashvane Jailer and a Looter here, and you can realistically train this around the corner into the Officer and the Thug. Big things you need to watch out for are the Officer is going to cast Handcuff, and the Thug is going to do a Debilitating Shout, which will actually scuff your damage. So make sure you're kicking the Debilitating Shout. The Ashvane Officer will also cast a Riot Shield. When Riot Shield goes off, huge reduction in damage. Paralysis gets rid of it. Imprison will get rid of it. Grip, you can grip it off as well, or any stuns. And the Handcuff, you need to make sure that you're interrupting the Handcuff. Once they're dead, we're moving up. There's an Officer and a Marine again. Just point the Marines away from people as they'll do a shoot and a flamethrower. I can't remember what it's called. The Officer again, Riot Shield and Handcuff. Suppression Fire, there it is there. Make sure that you're facing it away from your group because it will follow you. You can't do anything about it as the tank. Main thing though, make sure the Riot Shield doesn't get up. Make sure Handcuff's not going off. Once they're dead, we're going to come to this bridge here. You can see I'm jumping up and down on, and you want to either be able to taunt it, get a range to hit it, or a Demon Hunter with a throw glaive, and you want to hit that mob standing up the end with a barrel. You then want to move all the way sort of to the back here, bringing your Officer that you had on the other side of the bridge, and you want this Spotter to come with you all the way back here. So it will actually run through the metal gate. You don't have to worry about that. It won't pull any of the other mobs, and then you just want to kill it up here. By the time this is dead, we're at 98.3%. We're then going to get the Flamecaster, and then there's another Scallywag over here that'll take us to 100%. With the Flamecaster, the Blaze isn't the biggest issue in the world. It's the Fuse that you need to make sure that you're interrupting. So just make sure if you've got limited interrupts, that's the one you're interrupting. And then once that's dead, we're at 100%. We're just going to skip around the wall here. Now, if there was certain mobs that you'd missed through the jail by doing the rogue skips or something like that, there's plenty of trash in here to make up. So don't freak out about that too much. Now this is where we're going to do our first death skip. We're going to skip this entire cannon section. As I said before, reason being is it's a giant pain in the ass. If you do want to do the cannon sections and you can work out a way to group your mobs up in the middle and utilize both cannons to blow them up, by all means. However, this is generally the easiest way to do this. Now, Warlock Soulstone, Druid with Shadow Meld, Ancon a Shaman, or Battle Res from a DK or Druid is pretty much your options for here. So we've got a Shaman and we're going to have him run into the room. We're all dying out the front of the room, and the Shaman is going to ank inside the room and mass res. Same for Druids. If you had a Druid healer, you would be running up as the tank. You would be trying to stay alive where I am dead on the ground here. They would get into the boss's room and they would Shadow Meld. If it was a Warlock Soulstone, you would Soulstone your healer. They would run into the room. They would die. If you are a DK and you are having to battle res, you obviously need 30 runic power for this. Two ways that you can do it. One is that you can carry runic power into this skip, get your healer to run first and with DPS and die, and then B-res them as you career yourself into the room and get a B-res off. The other is that you may all need to run up there. Your healer may need to die. You may then need to run back, get runic power, get into the room and res. You kind of need to figure it out, but the main thing is you want to be resing them inside this room so mass res can go off and you can be where we are now. So then we're on to Knight Captain. We've moved the first barrel out of the corner because we're pretty much going to stay in this left corner here for the entirety of this fight. Generally speaking, this isn't a terrible boss to use hero on. However, Tyrannical Weeks, Dagor is generally fairly nasty on that last boss, so we're electing to use hero on the last boss as we used it on the first boss, Jess, and time-wise now, it's still got a minute 30 on it, so we're going to be using it on the last boss. Biggest thing with this one is that your DPS is fantastic, but the barrels need to be moved away from this corner. You do not need to move every barrel. It's just the ones that are spawning near this corner. So you can see I am just remaining in this corner pretty much for the whole time. The group's watching out where the cinder flames are being burst to in the middle of the room or whichever way she's facing. We're moving the barrels that will have any reach to us here, and we are just standing in the corner, guys. And that is pretty much it. You don't need to be moving around this whole room, going everywhere and things like that. Just make sure people are paying attention, moving any barrels that will spawn and clip you, and you can just stay in this corner. So once Knight Captain is dead, we are going to skip the last section. Now, I'm going to show you this and then I'm going to skip the 20 minutes worth of wipes that we had on the last boss because we had some pretty cool luck in here with our healer just kept getting stunned. And I'll explain all that. But we're going to imprison the Warden. It's really important that you imprison the Warden. Then as the tank, you are going to run up and you are going to take these mobs. Now, the rest of your group needs to hang the fuck back because the two priests that you ran past down the bottom will start casting this channel flame and they won't move anywhere. Your group here, what you're wanting to do is keep everyone out of combat except for you. So I've ran up here. My whole group's waited. The priests have now cleared the stairs. They've come up and they've gone over to the other side. You can see them running around there and see this righteous flames. That's what the priests cast, the inner flame, which is why they don't move at the start. You have to wait till that finishes before your group starts coming. Otherwise, they will get in aggro, or they'll get in combat, So you can see they're all running back now. My group is over there beside the cannon. They're not in combat. Then we're just going to get a mass res off and we are going to be on to the last boss. Now, we wipe for the next 20 odd minutes as I just skip through this video till it gets to the end near the kill one. And then I'm going to walk you through this last boss. So Overseer here, guys, we're going to tank him in the corner. Now, this boss can get really messy and we wiped on this for over 20 minutes. Just either being unlucky, our healer was really struggling, people just dying to silly stuff. It wasn't the most geared group in the world in regards to ults and things like that, but it's just this boss can go really nasty. So explosive burst, the reason you tank it in this position here is because of the explosive burst. You got your back hard up against the door, which means that you get punted into the door, you don't go anywhere, you don't need to run forward. You can see that bar on my screen that says Heartstopper. If that reaches the top, you get stunned in place. You don't want that to happen. If that does happen, and you've got a way to immune a stun, then you need to use that to avoid being stunned unless you can sit it. Your DPS are going to be on each side with their backs to the wall, so when they're getting punted back, they're not having to run in, and your healer will be using the railing in the middle. The biggest thing about this position, which can really cuck you, is the cross ignition. So when cross ignition comes up again, I'm going to show you, it's really hard in this position to know where the safe spots are. So either run onto one of your DPS that you trust, or have a look at the actual sort of ground around the boss, and you'll be able to see sort of patches where it's safe. There'll be the green of the ground that you can actually see, and there'll be the black where the cannon's actually going to go off. It's really hard to pick, especially with things like Rushing Jade Wind, D&D, Consecrate. It makes it really hard to see. So I recommend having a cancel Rushing Jade Wind macro for this one. It just, again, makes it far easier to know where you're going for a safe spot. Otherwise, run to a DPS where you know, but you can generally see it at the bottom of the stairs where it meets the ground, where it's going to be safe to run to. Now, the other thing that this boss will do, Overseer, is you'll cast a Deadeye. Deadeye applies a debuff to somebody that will make them take 500% extra damage from the next Deadeye. It is fine for everybody to get one stack of this. The moment that you need to start using soaks is when someone already has one stack of this and they get caught for a second one. You can go and soak it for someone if you do not have a stack. If you have a stack and you're going to soak it for someone, I well recommend making sure you have some kind of CC or immunity when you go to take that. Bops work. Demon Hunters can actually blade dance it, I believe, to stop yourself from taking a stack as well. Rogues can use evasion. Just make sure that you are using something when you go to soak it, otherwise it will most likely clean you up. The fight gets pretty hectic and it gets pretty messy with the incendiary shots and things like that. So again, it's well worth using Hero on. Even on non-tyrannical weeks, it still can get a little bit messy as well. I generally always recommend using Hero on this one, guys. But that's pretty much it. The biggest thing to make is making sure people don't die to dumb shit, that you've got your Deadeye soaks down, that people aren't dying to taking double Deadeyes, and that you are standing in clear ground for cross ignition. Otherwise, it will generally one-shot you if it's tyrannical weeks on a high enough key. So that's pretty much it, guys. Any questions you've got for me, hit me up in the comments below. Otherwise, thank you so much for checking out the video. Thanks so much for the support in doing these. I'll hopefully get the rest of the dungeons out soon. Like, comment, subscribe, guys. Come find me on Twitch. Come say hi in Discord, and I'll see you all next time. See you, fam.